Om Shri Ganeshaya Nama. My today's topic is the greatness of the Gita. Truly speaking, none has power to describe in words the glory of the Gita, for it is the best book containing the highest esoteric doctrines. It is the essence of the Vedas. Its language is so sweet and simple that a man can simply understand it after a little practice, but the thoughts are so deep that none can arrive at their end, even after a constant study throughout a lifetime. Every day they exhibit new facets of truth, therefore, they remain ever fresh and new when scrutinized with a concentrated mind, possessed of faith and reverence. Every verse of the Gita will clearly appear as full of deepest mystery. The manner in which the Gita describes the virtues, glory, and secret of the God is hardly found in any other scripture. For in other books, the teachings are generally mixed up more or less with worldly subjects, but the Gita uttered by the Lord is such an incomparable book that not a word will be found in it which is devoid of some spiritual import. That is why Sri Vedvyasa, after describing the Gita in Mahabharata, said in the end, the Gita should be carefully studied. After reading the text, its meaning and idea should be gathered and held in the mind. It emanated from the lotus like lips of Bhagwan Vishnu himself, from whose navel sprang the lotus, which is the use of studying the other elaborating scripture. Moreover, this Lord himself also described his glory at the end of the Gita. All men, irrespective of Varna and Ashrama, possess the rights to study the Gita. The only qualification needed are faith and reverence, for it is God's injunction to propagate the Gitas only among his devotees. He further said that women, Vaishyas, Shudras, and even men born of sinful worms can attain the supreme state of salvation if they cultivate devotion in Him and through worship of Him by the performance of their own nature born duties, men can attain perfection. Reflection on these verses make it clear that all men have equal rights to God realization. But owing to lack of understanding of the truth behind these subjects, many persons who have only heard the name of the Gita make the assertion that the book is intended only for monks and ascetics, and they refrain from placing the book for study before the children out of fear lest through knowledge of the Gita, the later renounce their hearts and homes and turn ascetics themselves. But they should consider the fact that Arjuna, who had due to infatuation, prepared himself to turn away from the duty of a Kshatriya and live on alms, being influenced by the most secret and mysterious teachings of the Gita, lived the life of a householder all his life and performed his duties. How can that very Gita produce the diametrically opposite result? Therefore, men who desire their own welfare should give up their delusions and with utmost faith and reverence induce their children to study the Gita. Understanding the meaning and the underlying idea of every verse, and while studying and reflecting on on themselves, should, according to the injunction of the Lord, earnestly take to spiritual practice for obtaining this most valuable human body. It is improper to waste even a single moment of one's time in indulging the transient enjoyment, the roots of sorrow. Principal teachings of the Gita. For his own realization, God has laid down in Gita two principal ways, Sankhya Yoga and Karam Yoga. Of these, all objects being unreal like the water in a mirage or the creation of a dream, gunas, which are the products of Maya, move in the gunas. Understanding this, the sense of doership should be lost with regard of all activities of the mind, senses, and the body, and being established ever in the identity with all pervading God, the embodiment of truth, knowledge, and bliss. Consciousness should be lost, and the existence of any other being but God. This is the practice of Sankhya Yoga. Regarding everything as belonging to God, maintaining equality in success or failure, renouncing attachment and a desire for fruit, all work should be done according to God's behest and only for the sake of God, and with utmost faith and reverence, surrendering oneself. So, God, through mind, speech, and body, constant meditation on God's form with remembrance of His names, virtues, and glories should be practiced. This is the practice of yoga by disinterested action. Result, both these practices being one, they are regarded as one in reality. But during the period of practice, they being different according to the qualification of the practicant. The two paths have been separately described. Therefore, the same man cannot tread both the paths at one and the same time. Even as thought, there may be two roads to the Gangas. A person cannot proceed to both the points at the same time. Out of this, Karma Yoga cannot be practiced in stage of sannyasa. For in that stage, renunciation of the karma in every form has been advised. The practice of Sankhya Yoga, however, the possible in every ashrama of stage or life. If it is argued that Lord has described Sankhya Yoga as synonymous with sannyasa, therefore sannyasis or monks alone are entitled to practice it and not householders, the argument is untenable. Because in the course of his description of Sankhya Yoga, the Lord here and there showed to Arjuna that he was qualified to fight even according to that standard. If householders were even ever disqualified for Sankhya Yoga, how could these statements of the Lord be reconciled? True, there is the special saving clause that the practicant qualified for the path of Sankhya Yoga should be devoid of identification with the body for so long there is an identification of the ego with the body. The practice of Sankhya Yoga cannot be properly understood. That is why the Lord described the practice of Sankhya Yoga as difficult and disinterested Karma Yoga. Being easier of practice, the Lord exhorted Arjuna every now and then to practice it together with constant meditation on him. We bow to the Supreme Purusha, Narayana, who is extolled even by great gods like Brahma, Varuna, Indra, Rudra, and Maruts. Through celestial hymns, whose glories are sung by those proficient in chanting the Samveda through the Vedas along with the six Angas, Padas into the Krama and Jata, and the Upanishad, who is perceived by the yogis by means of their mind, made steady through meditation and fixed on the Lord, and whose reality is now is known even to gods and asuras. Obeisance to the Vishnu, the dispeller of the fear of rebirth, and one Lord of all the religious regions, possessed of a tranquil form, lying